Welcome to Visibility Unlimited. I'm Leslie Short, your host and owner of the Cavu Group. We work with companies and organizations to expand beyond their current culture. Visibility Unlimited discusses topics focusing on diversity, inclusion, leadership, culture, and current events. Look out for my book, Expand Beyond Your Current Culture, out January 2021. Enjoy this episode and remember to subscribe to stay updated on future podcasts. Today's discussion is, what do we want? Who is the we? What are we asking for? Moving from movement to marching to policy. Let's get ready to talk about the we.
Thank you everyone for joining us for webinar number 15. That's almost 3 months now of discussions, topics. So I personally want to say, thank you everyone for joining us. You can be anywhere in the world on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you decide to spend it with us. So again, thank you. This week's topic, we'll be discussing what are we asking for? And we purposely put that in quotation marks because during this discussion, we will be not only asking one another, what are we asking for, but also what do we want? And most importantly, who is the we? And then also, how do we move from movement to marching to actual policy that's going to make a difference? For the people that don't know, my name is Micah Lewis. I am the founder of a group called the Village Collective, which is a diverse group of entrepreneurs, creatives in the New York Northeast area. And again, thank you for joining us here on this week of webinars. And with that being said, I will hand over to Leslie to do our intro and get us started as well.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to do a plug. I'm the owner of the Cavu Group and the host of Visibility Unlimited. Yes, I have props now. And so I work with companies and organizations to expand beyond their current culture through the lens of diversity and inclusion and company culture. So with all of that said, I've been in all of these meetings back to back to back to back with clients, and we speak about what we want. And then if you were with us last week, Mike and I were about to go at it about the we. So it really made me think and pay attention to how we were being used. I understand, and I'll let Mike explain his thoughts on why he doesn't want to be included in we. And I agree with that. I am who I am. I have my own identity. I want to be looked at as an individual. With all of that said, let me just share some things that's happened in the last week. We've buried, or in the process of burying, Representative John Lewis. They took his body across the Emmett Orchard Bridge again to honor the fact that he almost lost his life on that bridge, fighting for voting rights. We are still fighting for them today. Notice I say we. He didn't walk by himself across. They joined, and it was we feel that we want justice. And we will stand up for justice. And many of them were beat for justice. We celebrated 30 years of the American Disability Act. And we've been celebrating on that didn't just take an I. It took a week. And so as we examine who is the we, what do we want, I think this is a great time for us to sit back and say, what is it we are asking for? Because as I'm doing these trainings and teachings all day, everyone's like, we want action, we want action. But then what's the actionable items that we are asking for? Who who's the we? Because you've heard me say everyone is not on this yellow brick road looking for a heart or having courage. We're not even going to bring the brain into it. So we can't assume that we are all together. We've already spoken about what's a champion and an ally and an advocate. So who's your we? Or is it what they want to call now your tribe? Do you have different tribes? So I really would like for this to be conversational, especially because we're a nice small group, to really say, who's the we? Who do you want the we to be? Because I think the we for me personally is anyone that wants to be on the right side of justice. Now that's a big broad statement, right? Because everyone can't go along on the journey. There are different groups of we through the process. It's like making a t-shirt. You have the cotton, you have the thread, you have the label, you have the designer. If you want to add a logo, you have the graphic. How many people did we just get on one t-shirt? I didn't even speak about packaging, shipping, any of those things. So for some reason, at some point, the I has to become a we. And I believe that you have to do that, of course, without losing your identity, but respecting someone else's identity along the way. So our we sometimes go in pockets. I want to take you for a moment. In the midst of this pandemic, was your we the same at the beginning as it is now? Did your we shift for what you need or what is needed for your survival at this time? So and instead of going, I don't want to be lumped in, I definitely don't want to be lumped in. I think if any of you know me, you know I'm not one to be lumped in. But I do want to and need to be part of the we in order to see process, to see progress, to see change, because you can only get so far with change alone. So who's my we? Anyone that wants to be on the other side of justice. Where's my other we? Those that can do policy. You know, you always hear me speaking about writing policy, making that change. Who's my we? Someone that has my back. I'm walking into that office going, there's ageism, sexism, racism, blah, 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 and I need you to take a look. That's part of that. That's part of the we. So if there's a we that you have at this moment or are thinking about, let me know who your we is. Also, what do we want? Because we just can't be out here marching and saying we want justice. What does justice look like now? I think it's time for us to start bullet pointing some of the things that we're asking for, and don't assume that your justice and my justice looks the same. I see you get when you get close to the screen. I know something's coming. Talk to me.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a great topic this week because again, you use we and us a lot, and we had this discussion about everyone being included in that we, and yeah, my viewpoint on it is I agree. There are certain situations where I definitely do want to be included within the we, but for the most part, I do not want to be included with the we for certain things. And I would say this, I'll use a few examples. Political, like I vote a certain way, and I don't want to be included in what people define that particular group as. That we, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, why can't I just have independent views of the group think that happens? And then you made another point as well too, as far as being on the right side of justice, and what are we asking for? Like, what is justice? What does that look like exactly? And I think what society does is like putting certain things in groups or categories. So then you can say use literally the us and them the we and the others basically. So yeah, that's what I was just going to add about the whole, the inclusion of the we. Um, there's sometimes I like being okay. I'm okay with being included with the we, but for the most part, I would say more often than not, I don't like to be included with the we, because that particular group's we may not align with my ideology and my viewpoint, and I don't want anybody else speaking for me. I want to be able to raise my hand and say, well, hey, here's what my thoughts are, and not in a combative way. So that's what I wanted to share as well.
So
But
thank
before
you for that.
one other
And
thing I want to share for that is
sorry.
that everyone should have your cameras on as well too. This makes this conversation a lot better if we can see your face. So it's come as you are. Don't worry about if you have your hair not done or anything else. It's really great if you put your actual cameras on so we can have a great conversation.
Okay. I'm in some kind of way. I don't know who it's
All right.
So I would say this. I don't disagree with you. I think we're on the same side of this. I think that the issue with the we you use, I'm just going to take your example. When it comes to voting or politics, guess what? No one needs to know what my politics are. So I'm not included in the we. I am included in an assumption. I am included in a stereotype, but I am not included. I don't need to be lumped in. So, and I say that to say I did a speaking engagement last week, and I always get the feedback. And one of the feedback from the client was they didn't like my politics. So if you know, and you know, my head's going because I don't speak about politics. I purposely don't speak about politics. And I did not that day. But what they did is went and researched me and saw a picture that I had with ex-President Clinton and decided they didn't like me because they didn't like my politics. With zero context, they didn't see the Nelson Mandela or the Muhammad Ali or any other pictures. They decided that was going to be their thought process. So they're grouping me in a we that they don't like. But guess what? I can't control that. And so that's on them to group me in there because I know from where I stand and from what my we is like. And I think when we speak of we, and when I say we and us, that is, I'm building the we. And I'm building the we with those that are interested in doing the process that I'm trying to do. And so with that, that's also being a leader. At some point, you have to say we and us as opposed to just you go do it or I. It has to be the bigger picture of we. Was there something that came in before I go on? Is there a comment?
Yeah, Alex has a question. So Alex, you're more than welcome to unmute your mic and ask it directly.
Excellent. Thanks. Yeah. So, you use the example of politics. You want to be aligned with your thoughts and your political alignments, but you're not necessarily in 100% with the we of whatever that is. In your case, it was the political example. So, but what happens when you opt in and out kind of free will on the we, whatever that we is, for example, I know that Leslie and I had several conversations, and we've had conversations on this, on these Zoom calls in the past few weeks. The example of Black Lives Matter. So people were opting in to post solidarity, and then they were just then they just left, right? So I know in conversations with Leslie, it's not enough just to post. You've got to do something about that. So I'm sure in those cases, those people, those we's were feeling like they were part of the we up until a certain point, and then they opted out. Maybe they were uncomfortable going any further. Maybe they were too lazy, whatever it is. So the question I have, and I said I don't know the answer to this, is we all have the right to opt in and out. I'm not saying we don't have the right to opt in and out, but how does that impact the we conversation if you are, all for something, but then all of a sudden in your case, you didn't want to share your political views. In Leslie's case, she got maligned because of perceived political views based on a picture without any context. So, it kind of throws that we into, I don't know what, we upside down is me. I don't know what that does, right? So I'm going to make a t-shirt of that. So don't take my idea. Okay. So anyway, that's the question. I don't know. I pose it to the group. What happens when we opt in and out? Does it dilute the we?
Well, I think you have to know what's the purpose of the we? And who's part of the we? Is it we as a collective as we're all going to go now for Black Lives Matter and we'll just use that one? Or is it I have my tribe of we that's actually doing the work? So there's the big collective we, and then there's the group of the tribe. Here's my we, and we are moving forward with this. And those that are stay on the train, and those that jump off, jump off. You were never part of the we, because your we is also your mindset. It's just what you said. I will not steal your t-shirt. It's me turned upside down. So if I get into something and I see that I can't go any further, I may need to remove myself from that. Does it? So I'm not part of that particular we moving forward. And that's okay. Because if you have to, what is the foundation of your we? What is the foundation of the collective we when there is a purpose-driven action to it? Okay? Because everyone's not going to be able to go along the way. So sometimes people are there for their talents or their skills. I hate to put it like that, but they're there for their talent and their skills, right? Then you get to the next section. Some of them may not want to stay along, shouldn't stay along, can't stay along, and you may be picking up others to add into the group. And I think that's what change is about. That is how we grow. Because there's some people that's never going to be the we. You're going to be we are the office. We are the community. This particular section of the community, we work on infrastructure and we work on water. We work on this. So there's a lot of ways that we use we, and I know I probably really didn't answer that for you, Alex, but I think it really comes down to how you view the we and how you view yourself in the we. Because we're doing a lot.
Sorry, you brought up a point that sometimes the tribe changes, right? So I hate to use politics too because it's like a third rail issue always, it seems like. But we's are made up of individuals, and individuals can change. And sometimes political parties, we both see it, whether it's Democrat or Republicans. The Democrats are accused of getting way too left and alienating kind of their core base, and the Republicans are getting, rightly so, creamed because they've got people that are way too far right and they're losing some of their core bases. But that's the tribe that's changed without its constituency and left behind some of those that made up the original we, or what we thought of as the we, right? So I agree with you. Sometimes the individual leaves and sometimes the situation changes and you don't want to be part of that. Maybe back to Mike's point about the politics. Fundamentally, I'm sure he's got his viewpoints, and sometimes they align with the political party that he's aligned with, and sometimes there's parts of it that doesn't and chooses to opt out.
So look, we have the privilege to decide where you put yourself, right? To this day in this country, we get to choose which way we go. So who's to say you sign up? Think of all the kids that sign up for Little League. Now, how many of them actually really stay? Probably not most. for a year or two. You know, when I was doing ballet, everyone said, "Oh, wait till she hits 14 or 15. As soon as she discovers boys, all the girls leave." Some do, some don't. That's the process of life. Other outside of your family, and again, there's no guarantees on that. They're pretty much the only ones that usually are consistent throughout your journey. And even then, there's times you take the we as a family and you're like, I need to be I over here away from the we family. So it's the same thing. You build your we. You build your tribe. And, I never said tribe more than I said it right now for some reason, but that is the privilege that we get to have. And I think when your interest changes as you grow in your mindset, in your abilities, in your privilege, whether it's money or schooling or just thoughts or religion, your we begins to change. And sometimes it's for the betterment of growth and opening up to be able to experience new things. Sometimes your we, which works for you, will not work for the other person. No matter how much you were part of each other together before, it changes. So, we are called to pay a price here on this earth. And we do not do it alone. So we come in alone, unless you're a twin or a triplet, we leave alone. So what is the march that you make along the way of your journey? And who is along that ride that you do become we? What does that look like to you? And when it comes to this moment in time where we are, what are we asking for? I'm gonna keep posing that question. I would like to have health care. I would like to have a vaccine that's not being tested willy-nilly on folks. There are other things. Yes, you're getting close. You have a thought.
Yeah, and so it comes back to like being included or not included in the we conversation, and it comes about where like the whole Black Lives Matter thing was going on and they were tearing down the statues and everything. Do I care about a statue compared to not having the fear of getting, pulled over and shot by a police officer? Which one's more important for me? So I could care less about the statue portion of it. So again, about what we want, I think there needs to be better word I can find for it, a collective person or spokespeople to come and say, okay, here's the issues of this we group or tribe, and here is what our asks are. Almost like a union representative. If we're so here's the person who's speaking for this group, because I think that's where I have the problem with the word we as of now, being in part because the media pulls something and says and lumps me in to say this is what they want or we want or whatever. And that's not necessarily what I want. That's not necessarily what I care to fight about at this particular point in time. I care to fight about A, B, and C, not, X, Y, and Z. And that's where it gets a little sticky for me when it comes to the we and being automatically included in the we and everything. And, again, not to bring it back to politics as well, but I think, but I'm just saying there's a group of people. It seems like everything's binary, where it's like you either want this or want this, and there's no compromise in the middle to say that, hey, well, I want some of this, but I also want some of this as well too. So where can I be included? Where's the we of people, or the us that basically want both of these things in the middle? And to come
sometimes you have to build it yourself. See, I'm not looking for a we to join.
Gotcha.
You have to think about it. I'm not looking for a we to join. I will build it. This is the same way I built this company or every company you jump on and build. You saw a hole in a space and you said, I will build it because this is my thought process towards it. and this is what I want to see. And I'm sure there may be others that believe in my bigger goal, or a bigger the system, this cod of this. So you still get a right to decide. I'm not looking at the left and I'm not looking at the right, because let's be honest, some of the people that are speaking for we has nothing to do with me. They have never seen me. So I will build my we, and I build my we with people that I know also has the ear of that person. Okay. And so that's where a lot of it has to come down, that we don't need to look for a we to join, that I can become a we. And that's a lot of the conversation I want to have. And it comes down to understanding then what is important to you. You and I have spoken about this. I'm not going out to march. I'm not a marcher. I'm claustrophobic. Let somebody bump me or hit me. We're going to have another issue. I don't need to be in that. So what can I do that I can feel that's added value? Is it these webinars? Is it the podcast? Is it the trainings? Is it constantly speaking? That's what I can offer, the way that I can make change. Can I push the diversity and inclusion industry, not just to do check boxes? So we have to find our way to maneuver, to build our we. Are there other thoughts on this?
Hello, everyone. First of all, the we is always humankind as a whole, I think. When we start to break ourselves up into I, which I'm not against, I just think that sometimes when we start to break ourselves up into I, that's where it starts to go a little awry. We start to forget about other people. We start to look at people not as human beings anymore, but as numbers. We start to look at them as less than human, which has led to the mass incarceration. It's led into the poverty, different things. So I think one of the things that we have to do, because I know even over my lifetime, I can see where I've evolved from an we to an I back to a we. I think it's in flux. Sometimes, I mean, I was part of a church organization for a very long time when their values and what their truth was differentiating from mine. I became an I again. But I always wasn't I, but I had to leave. So I think we are always in flux as human beings, that sometimes you're gonna go with the tribe because you feel like, oh well, I like what they're saying, I like what they're doing. And then something's gonna change in you that's also, we are constantly evolving. Something's gonna change in you that's gonna make you back into the I again. And then you may find another group that has more of your values. Right now I'm like with you, Leslie. I'm not marching. I'm not going out there marching, especially in a pandemic. I know science, I'm believing. I'm not doing that, but I will do what I will do. I will put my feelings out there. I will read the articles and support different things that I see that people are doing. I'll educate myself, like on how other people are feeling. It's also about, sometimes the tribalism is really bad when we turn that we into a tribalism, because then we're so close-minded we can't hear what other people are saying. And everybody has a right to their opinion, and you don't have to agree with them, but you don't have to be so disagreeable where it becomes fighting and violent. That's where sometimes this stuff goes. It's not productive. I think more so if we can come to a conclusion where it's like, just like John Lewis, it was nonviolent. The violence came against him. He didn't come against the violence. And they had a collective we of nonviolence. And look at all what they got done. That's what I think sometimes is missing a little bit in our againstness. And I'm trying to preach here, but in our againstness of certain things, I think that this is where the message gets lost. And I totally agree with you, Micah. That chick that's up there talking, I'm gonna wring my neck. That chick that's up there talking about the virus and the doctor, she don't represent us. Don't
That is
think
true.
because she got a black face and she represent us. That is a lie. That is a lie.
Very, very true. And I think
Yes.
part of it too, and thank you for that. I think part of it as well is you can't lose yourself in a
Right.
we.
Yes.
You're always the I. You must always keep your values, your mission, and what it is, and be part of the we. That's what brings that. What makes someone wants to be part of your we is what you bring to the table, your added value, those types of things. When you start losing that and going through a ideology of this is all we do,
Yes.
we, like you said, and now I must scoot on over to be high again because that's not serving me well.
Right.
And I think that's what we also have to look at as we travel along this way. Is it serving me well? And if not, then you continue along as I until you find the we that works for you. And that's a job, right?
Yes.
That's a relationship. That's a group. That's a purpose. That is an outlook on life. And so therefore, we don't travel this road alone. Have you seen the new campaign from Old Navy? Anyone seen that? Has anyone actually really listened to it? Because I saw it and I saw the mask, and all of us now. And then it caught my ear this week, and it's all about we are we, and it's partly because they are selling the mask, so we are we, instead of saying I and they and them, we are we. Can we put on a mask? I'm not analyzing their campaign, but I'm going to look at it. They're saying, can we all just put on a mask so we can be a we? And I think it triggered me, of course, this week because we were going to have this conversation on what we look like. So one of the things I've been offering to staff, yes.
Well, just when you were saying that, I didn't see the campaign, but it almost like the campaign when the pandemic started, when it's we are in this together, basically. And it's like, okay, we're in this together, but are we really? But we, it seemed like, at least when this pandemic started, there was an us and there were them that was in this pandemic, going through this. But, the media was playing everything up because I was watching, I think MTV, don't judge me on it, but MTV had all these like celebrities on there they had cut like shorts saying that we're in this together, but I'm not included within your we, I'm not one of those we's. So I think it's no. Go ahead. But it's one of those things too. When we talk about, okay, well, who is the we? Then now it goes into what we were talking about as far as, well, what do we want as of this point? Like, whose we is the stronger we? I guess that shines through and gets the demands that what they want. Because currently, right now, some of the we that's included is the extra $600 of unemployment that people are getting. That's a really big we, but then that doesn't include someone like myself that's not included within that we. So again, it's like,
you have to give a we that got the $600, man.
No, I'm not. I don't have any feelings either way towards it, because it doesn't necessarily affect me directly. But I just mean when it's like, but I like who is the we when we're looking at these things, and then whose demands shine through or get the checklist on the check to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're going to listen to this we's demand, or we're going to listen to this we's demand.
So number one, I think you've heard me say it, and I say it every time I speak, so about 4 times a day. We are all in this together. We are not equal in this together. Let's be very clear in this pandemic. We are all in it together. For the first time ever, the entire world is dealing with the pandemic and this virus, right? We're not all equal in it. So we have to approach it differently. When you say who's the bigger, wider we, or the $600, my perspective is whether I'm affected by it personally, but I know that others are, it matters to me. It matters to me what happens with that. Because I can sit in and say, I'm single and I can eat peanut butter, or I can eat cheese, or I can have a glass of wine and a candy bar and I'm good. I don't have children I need to feed. I don't have two cars that I'm trying to run. I'm not home in a box trying to deal with family and work and all those things. So that 600, though it may not affect me, I know that there's families that it's killing me, that they are sitting freaking out with that $600. It's just not even, okay, it's different than the guy that went and bought a Lamborghini when he got his PPA loan, as opposed to a family or an individual that's seriously just trying to survive and do the right thing on the right side of being a decent human being. And they're groveling as a society for an extra $600 a week. And so that's not the issue, right? For me personally, that $600 is not the issue. The issue where I have the issue with the we is, why are we in a predicament to have a conversation that people need that $600 that had a job because they're making better money on unemployment than they did working. So that's where I want to look at that week and go, forget when I said the system is not broken, the system is not aligned for anyone that did not have money and or privilege. So then how do I build my we to begin those conversations? We're about to vote again. We just voted in local elections. I don't think people realize the power that local elections have, that you can walk the halls of Congress even, regardless of who is running it, and go into your congressman's office and state the things that you want. Every time I look at Congress, there are families there visiting. They are going through. Okay, you can't get to DC. None of us have get to DC. The writing letters and the calling, that is part of it. Is it part of a social group, a society group, a community group? Is it a community garden? There are different ways that we demand. We just went through the census. Brooklyn and New York are still trailing the rest of the country for their census. That census decides for 10 years. Do our neighborhoods get a trash can on the corner, or a post office, or a hospital? So when we get counted in that, we're getting counted as a we, unfortunately, fortunately. So I took it as a part of my responsibility as a I or a we to build, to use that time on social media to promote, doing the census, to having those conversations, to bringing it up constantly. Not just to keep hitting people in the head, but hope the we that's here goes out from these webinars and podcasts and goes and shares something that they've heard or seen, or thinks about something new or in a different way to move this forward in your collective needs. I don't want to be grouped into, oh, that black chick over there. But at the end of the day, they've grouped me. I haven't grouped me. I understand for which I stand. I understand for the power and the privilege and the thought process that I bring. And if you don't understand that or see that, that's enough for me to convince you. I'm over here on my weed doing what I need to do, and I'm gonna let you be over there going they, them, and those weeds. But I'm gonna be in the process making part of the weed. So what I was going to say earlier is that when I'm speaking to, especially corporate companies, everyone's trying to run to get things done. What's the checklist? What's the checklist? And I said to staff today, what do you want? This is the perfect time to figure out what you're looking for leadership to do. Is it advancement? Is it more training? Is it opportunity to promote? What is it that you think they should know that they probably don't know? This is the time to say it. So do you want more trainings on what microaggression is? Do you want to see policy changes? Do you want to have the opportunity to travel within or be promoted or to be in certain meetings? And I said, everything's not going to happen. We all know that, right? But if you don't know what you want, when someone's asking, what do you want? You're going to lose the opportunity to put it down. So after every speaking engagement, I'm like, here's what I'm giving you. Write it down. Because I'm dealing with leadership and they're going, what do we do? Did you ask anyone? And I'm looking at staff going, did you tell them? Because otherwise, you're right, Mike, the we will decide for us. And we're in a great opportunity that we don't need the bigger we to do that. Each of us has a voice that can be part of the process. And again, you get to choose the way your voice is heard and where it's heard and how it's heard. And if you have to be part of several we's to get it done, that's your choice. Why not? Who says you have to just be in one direction? But now that we're losing the voices of reason, and they call John Lewis the conscious of the Congress, because he understood and could speak to both sides. So now that we're losing some of our elders that have fought that fight for justice and liberty and righteousness and voting, who are the next ones? Where is the next generations that will speak not from party, but from people? That will not go from the left to the right, but as you said, will look at people, not how it only affects them, but how it affects the bigger whole. This is the work that I want to do. I don't only want to just affect my small circle. If that's all I can do right now, I'm happy to do it. What I would like, what I dream is that the conversations continue, that we continue to move, that people understand that we are having this conversation. Now, we the people, we all know, we the people may not always look the same. So I'm not going to say we the people, because we the people were not written for all people. So there, that comes back to, I have to build my we. And within me building my we, I have to think, what do I want? What do I want to see now? I would love to say, what's the low-hanging fruit? As opposed to, what are the big policy changes? What's the big things I would like to see? For one school that reached out to me, it's just, we just want to be treated fairly. And I said, what does fairly look like? Because we need to put that down now. What is fair to you? Hours of classes, the teachers' representation. Those are things that turned us into we. I want to take a moment here to say, is there any other thoughts as part of this, or comments in the list? No? Okay, but keep going. So, but no, I'm not gonna let you get off that easy. So I take that back, sorry. So I asked, think about who's your we. Who do you want to be your we? And then what is your focus? What is your, I hate to say, what's your goal? But what is it that you want out of this pandemic? Black Lives Matter, celebrating American Disabilities Act. They've been unbelievably vocal. I am loving what's happening in the disability world at this moment. Same thing, not that they haven't said it all these years, but now it's a new, I think some people have a new spirit to ask for what they want. They want to be able to have jobs, because you can no longer say you can't work from home, because we're all doing that. So corporate companies can no longer put that stamp and say, they, them, and those. We can't do that. We can't have the equipment because we all have the same equipment right now. Truth be told, some of them may have, some of those with disability may have more equipment. So that's no longer an excuse. They want to be represented. Black and brown folks that are disabled as well, trans folks that are disabled, LGBTQ++, they are no different than us, other than they may need apparatus to be able to move with the speaker to see the hear. That's no different than I. I was told do one thing, oh, let's see, your glasses are really, the light's really shining and it's bothering me. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I need to see. So I can take them off, but I'm not gonna be able to read a note. And then you're gonna be in trouble because I'm gonna get to preaching. So you want me to stay focused. So again, you have to know when you stand up for yourself and you have to be alone, and there's a we that stands up with you. So I don't know, I'm not trying to convince you. I just would like for you maybe to take a moment to look at a we. Because I hate to break it to you, you and I are a we. So you may not like the we, but you're stuck with me. So we're a we. There was an I, we became a team, and now we're a we. If you're trying to tell me you don't want to be part of my we, too late.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I just, yeah, not to sound like a broken record. It's just that I just don't like. I personally just don't like to be put into certain groups, because there's already stereotypes that are out there, and you said something earlier. While we can say that, hey, it doesn't really affect us when people put us in their groups, it actually, I mean, it kind of sort of does when you're walking through society on a daily basis. And so that's just one of the fears that I have, to be lumped into a group that I don't want to be a part in, that could really be a detriment to me, whether it be not getting a job, whether it be, and I'll give a real life example of it. Like just social interactions with people. I never speak about my education. I never speak about where I come from or anything else of the sort. But there's always preconceived notions and put me into a we category, based upon what somebody's perceptions are, that could truly be detrimental, but you may not know it's detrimental. But there's certain things you could. I'll give an example of it. Um, Personal conversations I've had with people on a one-on-one basis, and not knowing my background or not knowing my the educational background, they'll make statements or whatever as if to put me down, as if to say like, hey, I know more than you, based upon just the preconceived notions of it. So they're automatically putting me in a we category that I don't necessarily fit into and don't want to fit into. And so there's really nothing I can do about this. I can spend my energy on trying to dispel whatever rumor it is, but then at the same time, or whatever notion that they have, then again, it's wasted energy as well too. So that's just my whole issue about being, included with the we. And it's like, I wish I could wear a sign.
By
Yeah.
the color of our skin, we are included in a way. End the conversation on that.
Yeah.
So I don't allow that to be a barrier. If you choose to think I am ignorant, or I am dumb, or I am less in, or I am poorer than, your feelings will be hurt when I open my mouth or I say something. That's not for me to worry about. That's for you to figure it out. But why is she here? Well, you'll find out soon enough. I can't live my life thinking that, because I can have an amazing resume as all of us on there, but the moment we walk out the door, regardless, we are Black, African American, whatever anybody identity, we are people of our skin tone of a different shade. Therefore, you're already put in to a category. When I was working in the hospital as a chaplain, and I would go in my 3-inch heels and my skirt, and I did not wear a collar, I go in with my notepad and my click, 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 and it'd be like, chaplain's on the floor, chaplain's on the floor. You know, one doctor was like, I want to do a competition. My chaplain is hotter than your chaplain. My chaplain will be your chaplain when they found on spots. I did not look the way some patients thought I should look. The chaplain before me was the classic Irish Catholic priest who also did not wear a collar when he did rounds. But some were just like, well, you can't be a chaplain. Okay, how come? Well, you know, well, you're not a Christian. Okay, well, you're wrong. Well, go ahead, keep going. You know, I would just make them. Well, let me tell you something. By the third day in the hospital, and you don't have visitors, I'm your new best friend. Because people forget about all of that. And there's just someone there on a human level. But our first instinct is always, not always, our first instinct is to look at appearances and think of stereotypes. So the analogy that I like to use, and I've been using a lot, if you're walking down the street and you fall into a manhole, if everyone's here in New York, then we all know what we're talking about. When you reach your hand up and you're screaming for help, and another hand comes down in that hole, do you say, wait a minute, what college did you go to? What church do you go to? What color are you? What are you wearing today? What group were you with? Or do you grab onto that hand and you both pull each other up out of that? And when you get to the top of that hole, 9 out of 10 in the days we could hug each other, you're going to hug that person. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, at that moment, there may be a step back of, whoo, I know that's who I was helping. But you helped. And so therefore, I like to use that. Think of always being in a hole and reaching your hand and another hand coming down. There is no judgment on that. So if I walk into a room and I am judged, which a lot of times, especially in the circles for which I travel, when I'm the only one sitting in a UN dinner, or there's 500 people and then there's maybe 3, and I may say 2 are from Africa sometimes, and there's 1 other American that maybe works for the company, or if someone, I can't worry about that. I can't think about that. I actually become the we that I want to be represented as. See what I'm saying? So they may have had a preconceived notion. And by the time I've left, I'm either the best thing since sliced bread or why was she at this table? That's still on them because I've had both. So as each of us continue to think about what we want, how we want it, how we want to see it, how we need it, think about yourself, your I, and what the we you want to build. Because you do get to build it, and you do get to place it where you want it. I know our time is almost up, so I just want to say, is there any other last closing comments from any of you? You know, I always appreciate you joining, sharing, listening to podcasts after, looking at the YouTube channel, but just for your support. I thank you for that. Any last minute? You're my tribe. We are in this together. Not always the same, but we are here together, and I appreciate our Wednesday evenings together. Okay? I'm not sure what next week's topic's going to be, so if there's something that's been burning, or you've seen it, feel free to put it in the chat right now. As for signing off,
or your email as well too, if they want. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yeah, if there's something that you would like to discuss that's been burning, or something that you just don't understand, or you understand it and you need others to understand it, I'm open to discussing it. this is a community that we're building. And so I look forward to continue. Everyone have an amazing, safe, and healthy journey to your living rooms and kitchens, if that's not where you are. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and you'll join us again soon at Visibility Unlimited. Thank you.